One of the stories goes that the dad was looking for Nicholas one day, and so Nicholas had to sneak up to the roof and drop the gold down the chimney rather than throw it into the window. And so Nicholas, later on becoming Bishop of Myra, later on becoming widely known throughout the ancient world, was named a saint. And this is one of the depictions of him that is profoundly felt all over the Eastern world, throughout Europe, into Asia, all the way into Russia. Nicholas is revered as a saint. He was named Saint Nicholas. His name day, the name Nicholas, was associated with the day December 6th. And so it was during the month of December that people celebrated anything related to Saint Nicholas. In fact, by the time Nicholas's fame made it to Holland or the Netherlands, Nicholas was so widely known that even people who didn't speak Greek understood him. See, Nicholas spoke Greek, and when they called him a saint, they would call him Hagia Nikolaos. But when it made it to the Germanic languages, it turned into, well, Latin at least, it was sancta for saint, and in German it was something along the lines of saint. And so by the time it got to the Netherlands, his name became Sint Niklaas. Now, people, when they have names that are that hard to pronounce, because Sint Niklaas. Okay, so over the course of time, it got smashed together. Sint Niklaas eventually became Sinterklaas. And so people in Holland to this day honor a man they call Sinterklaas, who brings toys to poor people and children. He brings gifts. Originally it was for the poor people, and then it sort of grew into all the children, and then eventually to everybody. And so to this day in Holland, the story of Sinterklaas is that he rides in on a steamship from Spain. I'm not telling you a joke. Rides in on a steamship from Spain with a whole bunch of Arab guys with him, not elves, Arab guys wearing turbans, and the Arab guys go and wreak havoc in the town, and Sinterklaas gives gifts to people, and everybody parties. Okay? So that's how it works. Okay, so lots of Dutch people made a move to a small town called New York City a long time ago. And in about the 1800s, the people in New York City decided that they wanted to make Saint Nicholas their patron saint, because there were lots of Holland, Netherlandic, Dutch people there, and they wanted to make Saint Nicholas their patron saint. So in 1810, a man published a brochure, a pamphlet, to promote Saint Nicholas as a patron saint, and he quoted in that pamphlet a Dutch poem. And in the Dutch poem, an ancient Dutch poem, it referred to him as Sancta Claus. And of course, by the time the English people got a hold of it, it was Santa Claus. But something happened around that same time that changed everything. In fact, in 1934, American culture began to transform the global picture of who Santa Claus was. Before then, though, this is just an interesting tidbit of side information. In the 16th and 17th centuries, a group of people called the Protestants were removing themselves from the Catholic Church. They were protesting the Catholic Church. And since they were protesting the Catholic Church, but they still wanted to be Christians, they decided they were going to focus on Jesus and not all the saints. Not Mary, not all the saints, not all that stuff. So when they came to the Christmas season and someone needed to give gifts to their children, they said, hey, listen, let's tell them the Christ child himself is providing these gifts. And so they named the gift giver the Christ child. And in German, that was Christkindl. And eventually, by the time Americans got a hold of that, it was Kris Kringle. And by the time Jiminy Cricket got a hold of that, Kris Kringle and Santa Claus were the same guy. I just thought you might want to know that. But here's the thing. In 1934, everything changed with a song that was written by Coots and Gillespie. A song with some terrifying lyrics. A song, were it not for the cheery melody, you would be frightened. I'll play it for you.
Well, still no sign of Santa, but some spontaneous Christmas caroling has broken out right here in front of Central Park. Let's have a listen in.
When you're sleeping, he knows if you're awake.
He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Hey! You better watch out. You better not pout. You better not pout on
If the only people you ever heard sing that were the last guys in the clip, you would be scared to death. Who is this Santa, and why is he coming to get me? See, the lyrics are a horror story just about to happen. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good. He's making a list. And he's checking it twice. He's going to find out who's naughty or nice. So you better not pout. You better not cry, and you better not shout, because I'm your dad and I need some peace and quiet. So just go to bed or Santa's not coming. It was in 1934 that Santa got a list. And it's that list that forms the fearful undertone for Christmas. Here's another clip.
Can't wait to see my dad. We're going to go ice skating and sugar plums.
And that's the other thing I wanted to talk to you about. You know, buddy, your father, well, he's on the naughty list. Some people, they just lose sight of what's important in life. That doesn't mean they can't find their way again, huh? Maybe all they need is just a little Christmas spirit.
Now, this is the first thing that has the tendency to draw us away from the true meaning of Christmas. You see, God has a list. And his list and the information we learn about his list is even more frightening than the scariest rendition of Santa Claus is coming to town. It's in Revelation chapter 20. I'm going to put it on the screen here for you, and I just want you to see these words with me. The Apostle John has a vision of the future, a vision of the day when Jesus comes back to earth and all the dead are raised back to life again and they face judgment. He says, "Then I saw a great white throne and him who was seated on it. The earth and the heavens fled from his presence, and there was no place for them. And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne, and books were opened." Not just a book. Books. Not just a list. A whole bunch of books to cover what they cover. Another book was opened, which is the book of life. The dead were judged according to what they had done as recorded in the books. The sea gave up the dead that were in it, and death and Hades gave up the dead that were in them, and each person was judged according to what they had done. And if that judgment isn't scary enough, look how the judgment ends up. Then death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. The lake of fire is the second death. Anyone whose name was not found written in the book of life was thrown into the lake of fire. Listen, this is far more scary than getting coal. Think about this for a moment. God's list is not a simple naughty or nice list. It's not a list of your name with a blanket claim of whether or not you've been naughty or nice. Because frankly, none of us are naughty. I mean, tell me the truth. Have any of you actually ever gotten coal in your stocking? Really? Never? Someone once did. I would like to know that story. But none of us has really gotten seriously coal in our stocking because we all are nice people. I'm a nice person. You're in church today. You're a nice person. In fact, if I were to just simply say, if I blanketed my life with a term, naughty can't possibly describe everything that I am. I'm a nice person. Problem with God's list is it has no value judgments in it whatsoever. It doesn't say you're naughty, nice, bad, or good. No value judgments. The only thing in God's list is a list of every single thought you have ever thought. And a list of every single thing you have ever done. Now that's frightening. That's a little bit scary because honestly, if the person sitting next to you had a list of every thought you've ever thought about them, would they still be sitting next to you? None of us would be even in the room. We'd all be like, oh, I hate those Christians. Because if everybody knew everything that you've ever done and everything that you've ever thought, that's the end of it. And that's what what happens right here. God doesn't even need to judge you because everybody around you is already going to know. When you list it all out, there's some bad juju going on inside of each of us. God's list is a lot longer, a lot more detailed. But there's a different list. See, there's this one big list with all the books, with all the details of all you've done. And then there's this other book, one other book. It's a smaller book. You've got all this encyclopedia over here of all the stuff you've done. And then there's this other book. It's just one book. And in this book, there's no word naughty, no word nice. There's no list of what you've done. The only thing that exists in this book are names. Now, here's the thing. You can be in this list over here, and all of us are. But are you on this list? See, what the passage tells us is that every single person is judged. Everybody is judged, but the ones whose names are in this book don't get punished. Now that is interesting to me. See, what this is telling us is it's telling us that it doesn't matter what the list says about you. If you're going to take notes, jot this down. It doesn't matter what the list says about you. It only matters whether the Lamb has you on his list. Revelation calls it the Lamb's book of life. He's got a list, and it only has names. I want to ask you, are you on that list? Well, of course, the question is, who is the Lamb? If we're going to be on the Lamb's list, we need to know who the Lamb is. Because there's this whole list that I know that I'm on over here, but there's this other list that I want to be on. I need to make sure that whoever the Lamb is knows me. And the guy who wrote the book of Revelation also wrote another book. And in that book, he points to a person and says, "Behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world." And when he does so, he is pointing at Jesus. The Lamb is Jesus. In fact, I want to take you to John chapter 1 to learn just a little bit more about this Jesus. It says this, "He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God." Now listen, the children